Straight up, I've lied and I want to apologize. I'm not going to show you how to turn $500 into $10,000, but rather how I plan to turn $5,000 into well over $100,000 investing in crypto. Welcome back to the channel, I'm Michael, and I'm going to show you exactly how I plan to multiply my account. And the good news is, this strategy, this plan can be pushed and pulled to suit any account balance. Multiply by 10, we can be turning a 50 grand account into over $1 million. Divided by 10, we're turning $500 into that $10,000. This strategy weathers every market condition, but it does have a long-term time horizon. If you're impatient, this is not for you. I'm going to share with you a semi-automated long-term strategy that outperforms every long-term strategy I'm aware of, and it's based on simple mathematics. Any strategy in existence is based on a forecast of some sort. Dollar cost averaging, for example, is based on the assumption that price will go higher over time. Technical analysis is based on patterns repeating, so they're forecasting that essentially something that's happened in the past is going to happen relatively the same in the future. It's all forecasting of some sort. My strategy is based on one simple factor, and that's that crypto will be significantly higher in the years to come than where it is right now. I'm going to show you how I plan to buy, sell, take profits and reinvest those profits. And if I'm honest with you, I think that $100,000 target is rather conservative. This video is for education and entertainment purposes only. Past results are not indicative of future performance. Everybody must trade and invest at their own risk and do their own research. I'd like to thank the sponsor of this episode, which is Swyftx. I'll be using my Swyftx account later in this video, but this strategy can be applied to any market and any exchange. The great thing about Swyftx is I'm able to automate part of my strategy, and I'm going to show you exactly how I do that. I'm a big advocate for having multiple accounts for contingency purposes, but not only that, it helps me think more clearly, knowing exactly which account is for trading, investing, and also even which strategy. Having separate accounts helps me think that bit more clearly, and I'm going to take whatever bit of edge I can get over the next person in the markets. If you want a new or separate account, Swyftx will give you $10 worth of Bitcoin for free using that link in my description below. I first shared this strategy in September of 2021, showing my live account and the purchases that I made. At the end of 2021, I revisited the results where you could see that this strategy outperformed both buying and holding and dollar cost averaging. In this video, I'm going to take it a step further and show you how I'll be exiting, taking profits, and reinvesting those profits. 2021, relatively speaking for crypto, was a pretty ordinary year, but testing this strategy, starting with 5 grand, was able to bank thousands of dollars, get thousands more still invested into the market, and by the end of it, hold a balance of over 6 grand ready to buy more. And remember, the starting balance was only 5,000 bucks. Full disclosure, this strategy does require a small monthly deposit to invest in the market, but let's be honest, what serious investor doesn't allocate a small percentage of their income to build their wealth? And for a bit of proof, here's what one of the greatest physicists of all time has to say on compounding. Fair enough, Einstein was talking about compound interest, and what I'm talking about here is compounding investments. Equally important, at least in my opinion. Starting out with a $5,000 account, I'm simply looking at using $300 per month of my savings to invest in the market. That's only 6% of the starting balance and not even $75 per week. But that's enough of the preamble, let's just get stuck into it. This is the Bitcoin pyramid I'm following for this investment strategy, and as you can see, it starts at a base of 20,000 bucks. The apex is at 120 grand, and each $10,000 increment is marked on the chart. Although it's an even looking pyramid, time has not been factored in, so reaching 120 grand by the apex is virtually impossible. So a more accurate picture looks like this. So why $120,000 and mid 2025? Well, I was first looking for a top around $89,000 to take place sometime this year, but since then Bitcoin has fallen back below in what I believe is a big picture accumulation zone. And what I know about accumulation zones is they can go on for some time, but when they do break out, they'll often break out and put in a huge move, because when the markets are quiet, most people lose interest, they don't follow their plans, and they look the other way. So I've had to make some adjustments based on my first target, and of course there's no guarantees that this one here will even be hit. But even so, the strategy I'm about to share keeps me involved, active in the markets, taking profits, and banking profits. So despite the forecast, whether it happens or not is besides the point. And even so, I do think 120 grand is conservative based on this big picture accumulation. So once again, why 120 grand and mid 2025? Well, I believe that when Bitcoin does eventually break out from its accumulation, it's going to go at least 2 to 3x that old high. The old high is about 69 grand or 70 grand for round numbers. So I'm really looking at about 140 to 210,000 bucks, but I'm using 120 grand as a conservative target. But no matter what, whether it reaches the target or not, this strategy keeps me safe. What about 2025 or around mid 2025? From the market cycle analysis that I've done both for businesses, stock markets, real estate, later this decade looks to be set for a bit of a tough period, economically speaking at least. Bitcoin may be seen as a safe haven around that time, meaning Bitcoin could actually go up while other assets fall. But I am anticipating a volatile period in the markets around that time, meaning there's likely going to be large price swings both up and down. Now, of course, all of this is a forecast, but like I said earlier in the video, every decision we make, being it big or small, is in fact a forecast of some sort. And although I don't expect it to be exactly right, I just do have to have some kind of plan that I can base my strategy on. And to take that forecasting analogy a little bit further, even when we cross the street, we're making a forecast that we're going to get to the other side before we get run over by the bus. And if we get a third of the way across the road and realize that bus is coming at us a bit too fast, we're going to turn around and jump out of the way. And investing this particular strategy is going to be no different. I'm going to be doing regular reviews to see if it's on track to do what I think it should be doing. And if not, the strategy keeps me relatively safe so I don't do too much damage and I can still meet my objectives. Now to the strategy. Starting with a $5,000 account and investing a further $300 per month is how I plan to get my account well into the six figures. And I'm going to be using the start of 2021 to explain what I'm doing. The crux of this strategy is investing more money while the price is near the base of the pyramid, then as the price goes up, invest less. Why is that? Because basic maths tells us that when the market corrects, and it always corrects, the money invested near the top is going to be showing a loss much sooner than the money invested earlier. So by having more money invested near the lows or the base of the pyramid, when the market does correct, those losses are going to be offset by the greater profits made on the bigger positions. There are a few elements to this strategy, but when broken down, each step is simple enough. There is lump sum purchases, dollar cost averaging purchases, taking profits, reinvesting those profits, and also banking money. My assumption with this pyramid is that Bitcoin won't fall past 20,000 bucks plus or minus 30%. So granted, that is a pretty big window, but I'm thinking many years into the future, and this is my long-term plan. So let's dig into some details and see how this strategy performed over 2021. At the start of 2021, Bitcoin was at a price of about 28,900 bucks. Now this strategy invested 60% of the $5,000, 3,000 bucks, as soon as the first line of the pyramid was crossed. Then to make things simple, I'm simply investing half that amount each time the next line is crossed. So you can see 1,500 bucks and then 700 bucks. So what happens in this case is there wasn't enough in the account to purchase the full $750 worth, being half of the 15 grand. So in this case, I just purchase as much as I possibly can with what's available in my account. This part of the strategy makes up the lump sum purchases. And as you remember, I spoke about investing a further $300 per month into this strategy. Now what that does, $100 of that 300 bucks, I'm just going to dollar cost average into the market, because I know over time, dollar cost averaging still can perform okay, not as good as this strategy, but what I find it does for me is alleviates a bit of the FOMO. So I'm getting a bit into the market based on my monthly savings, and that's what you can see with the yellow purchases. The end of each month, another 100 bucks going in. And as for the excess $200, because remember, we had 300 bucks each month, we got $100 going into dollar cost averaging. That extra 200 bucks, that gets banked for future use. You might be thinking, why dollar cost average at all if this other strategy outperforms? Well, for me, I find it helps me avoid the FOMO, like I said before. It also keeps me honest and on top of what I'm doing. But as you'll notice, it is only a small amount of what I'm actually doing in the market with the lump sum purchases, and I'm banking more than the dollar cost average amount. That's what I'm using for future use. So how about taking profits and banking even more money? I'm keeping it super simple. When two lines are crossed from the initial purchase, I'm trailing one line below the market. So the $3,000 was bought at $30,000 Bitcoin, cross one line, cross two line, then I'm trailing the stop below the next line. That's all I'm doing with this. The same applies for the 1,500 bucks. Cross one line, cross two line, and then the market is trailed, the stop is trailed below the next line, and that's where you can see this sell coming in. Also, what you will note is I'm only selling half of those positions, not the whole amount, because I want to be keeping money in the market, focusing on that bigger picture goal of 120 grand and potentially beyond, but I still want to be protecting some of my investments. So not only am I able to protect some of my investments, I'm banking profits, making money on those initial investments. So if the market does fall, I've got more money ready to go to buy back into the market. What you'll also see with this strategy is that when the market does fall and break back down to the original line, it's buying back in, buying the dip in a sense, just so I can top the bag up to what my initial investment was. And the reason for that, of course, is I'm expecting this market to go up over time into 2025, maybe even beyond. So I always want to be having enough money invested, especially when the market's lower. On a surface level, the strategy seems simple enough, but the market's trading, they're a living and breathing organism, so I always try and remain fluid. This approach over 2021, purely looking at the numbers looks something like this. We have all the purchases there, the lump sums, taking profits, dollar cost averaging, the whole shebang. But what it looks like in terms of just pure results, the ending balances and what it looks like, that's what we've got here. And also, since first putting this together, we can actually update the price of Bitcoin, currently at $44,000. So what we can see here is that the investment value, we have $6,000 in the market. It's returned 12% on the invested capital, but the key thing to note is there's $11,500 total from the $8,900 invested. So the total return on the deposited capital is just under 30%, despite Bitcoin not going very far over all of 2021, putting in big swings up and down. This has been banking profits, it's been getting return on investment, and there's money to go ready to buy more should the price fall. I'll be sharing a copy of the spreadsheet which includes all of the calculations, the rules and nuances, and the backtest results to all of the members of the Investor Accelerator. There's a link down below in the description. If the spreadsheet's all I'm good for, you can sign up for 1 month, take me on a date, and dump me, I won't be offended. Keep in mind, this is not a complete system. The strategy does not take into account your financial objectives or personal circumstances. This is not financial advice. I'm sharing this with you for educational purposes only, so you can see how a mathematical-based approach can perform some great historical results, but past results are not indicative of future performance. And not only that, you can follow along with this strategy in my account for entertainment purposes only. What I do hope is that this video sparks some ideas for you to go away and do your own research to tailor make an investment plan that suits you and your objectives. Now, I have absolutely no idea if this is going to reach my goal of 6 figures or more, but I have to have some kind of plan to work from. Investing is a living and breathing activity, which is why I believe regular reviews are essential, such as quarterly or biannually. These regular reviews can point out holes in an investment approach or simply just areas to improve on, which leads to tweaks in the investment strategy. At the start of this video, I mentioned how I use Swyftx to automate part of the strategy. I'm going to show you exactly how I do that just now. And remember, you can get yourself $10 worth of Bitcoin for free just by signing up for an account using that link in the description below. Now, this is my live account, the public account that I share with everyone on YouTube, and you can see that my account is currently down. Bitcoin's down by just under 1%, and Ethereum's down by roughly half of 1%. Now, the cool thing with this strategy is you can see from when I started in September, Bitcoin's down almost 9%, Ethereum's down about 14%. But going back to the account, obviously this strategy has really weathered the storm and reduced that drawdown, so it's basically at break even. What you'll also see in my account is I have some USDC sitting there. Now, I'll go into why that is in a moment, but first I'll show you a really cool feature Swyftx has, which is this swap feature. So I actually want to swap that USDC for Ethereum so I can roughly even up my Bitcoin and Ethereum balances. So to do that, I'm going to go up to the trade section and hit swap. Now, because I want to be swapping my USDC for Ethereum, I first press USD coin, and then I can select which asset I want to swap it to. And you can see here, I can just select Ethereum from the drop-down menu, and I want to be swapping 100% of that, because like I said, I want to roughly even out my Bitcoin and Ethereum balances. So what you can see here is it automatically calculates how much worth of Australian dollars, how much worth of Ethereum that is, and I just hit swap. So I'll go ahead and hit confirm, and that'll be done in just a few moments. Jumping back over to my dashboard, we can quickly see my balances are now evened out. My USDC is gone. I've purely just got Bitcoin, Aussie dollars, and Ethereum. Now I'll show you how I use Swyftx to automate part of this strategy, because if you remember, I've got that $300 worth of savings going into my account, and I'm automatically dollar cost averaging into $100. So the feature of Swyftx I use for this is the recurring order feature. And on the left-hand side of our toolbar, we can see the recurring orders, which I can just go ahead and click there. Now, the end of last year, I did have a recurring order set up, as you can see here, but since I've done a review and updated my strategy, I can go ahead and delete this one and create a new one. So all I have to do there is simply click the 3 buttons and hit delete, and that's going to get rid of my recurring order. Now I'll go ahead and set up a new recurring order, which is the automated part of this strategy. It's as easy as hitting the add new order, then adding in the order label, which I'll just call something simple like Bitcoin Pyramid Strategy. Once the new order label is created, such as what I've got here, Bitcoin Pyramid Strategy, I can go ahead and add the assets. Now I want to be adding Bitcoin, and I also want to be adding USD coin, because remember, I've got $300 per month I want to be investing. $100 of that is Bitcoin, and the other $200 is just going to be sitting in the market ready to go for exactly when I need it. For the fund allocation, I only want 1/3 to be buying Bitcoin every month, because 1/3 of 300 equals $100, and then I want 2/3 to be sitting in dollars ready to go. So once the label's done, the assets are added, and the allocation is complete, I can just go ahead and hit create order. From there, you'll get a pop-up, and these are the details I need to add into my bank to set up the recurring order from my bank's end. So it'll automatically deposit the money into Swyftx and then buy these particular coins that I've got set up here. Jumping back over to the strategy, I already have roughly $1,500 US invested into Bitcoin at around the $40,000 price point. Now you can go back and watch my Swyftx playlist to see when I made those purchases last year. So what I want to be doing now is looking to invest $750 if Bitcoin does continue past the $50,000 price point. Because I don't want to be watching the market all of the time, and I want to have that order ready to go in case Bitcoin does boom and I'm either asleep or away from the computer. I can have that order sitting in the market or in the exchange ready to be executed in the event that Bitcoin does go up, and I can have that $750 automatically purchased. So to do that, I go to the trade section and hit buy. From here, I can select Bitcoin in the assets. Now I have my account set to Australian dollars, so I know that 50,000 US is roughly $70,150. That's at the current exchange rate. So I'm going to go ahead and place an order to buy Bitcoin if it reaches that price. So I only want my order to be hit if Bitcoin goes up and I'm entering with momentum. So to do that, I have to place a stop order. And once again, all that stop order simply means is I want to be buying above the market. So I want to see the market moving up before it's hit. So I have a stop order to buy Bitcoin, and the trigger price, I want it to be 70,150. That's roughly 50,000 US, and that fits in with the pyramid strategy that I'm talking about here. And the amount I want to be buying is $1,050 because $1,050 at the moment currently equals about $750 US, and that's what my strategy says to buy. So once I have my order ticket formed, stop order 70,150 at $1,050 worth, it will buy me roughly 0.015 Bitcoin. I can go ahead and hit buy, and that's just going to sit in the exchange ready to be triggered if Bitcoin price, if it does go up. Now I can just sit back and relax and let this strategy do its thing while keeping an eye on the market to see if and when those orders are hit or I need to take profits. Once again, if you want a copy of the spreadsheet, the rules in detail, calculations and backtest results, check out TIA Lite. And remember, you can get yourself $10 worth of Bitcoin for free by using that link in the description below. Drop me an upward chart emoji in the comments section below if you did like this video. Let's see if we can get this account to well over 100 grand. As always, thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, I'll catch you then.